Okay, today's the day for Magic Keys. If you want to purchase a new key or you want to get into the Magic Key system, today's the day, January 10th. The queue's going right now. All the keys available, roughly around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's first talk about the four keys. You got Inspire, Believe, Enchant, Imagine. Typically, Enchant, Imagine are for locals, those that have very, very high flexibility. Inspire and Believe are also for locals, but those are more geared towards people that are maybe potentially out of state that want to come at least 4 to 6 times a year. Let's talk about that. So, Inspire key, best key, 1649 is how much it is. 20% off of dining, 15% off or 20% off of merchandise, 15% off of dining, parking included. Very, very good value. For the Believe key, 1249, $400 savings, half of the percentage off for merchandise at 10, and 10% on dining, 50% on any parking structure. That means Mickey's and Friends is okay. Okay. Enchant key, 849, 10% off of merch, 10% off of dining, 25% only at Toy Story parking lot. Imagine 499 must be a SoCal resident. You have to prove proof of residency within those zip codes that are listed right there. 10% off of merch, 10% off of dining, and 25% off at Toy Story only. Very, very good value for locals. Now let's talk about renewals and when you should logistically do this. So if you buy this today, January 10, 2024, that means your pass is probably good until January 9, one day before, of 2025. Is that a good thing or bad thing? Well, let's look at that for a second. So Run Disney is coming up literally tomorrow, and that's January 11. They already announced January 2025 dates, and I believe is in the middle of January. I think it's like January 15, 16 or something like that. It's not as early as this time around. It's a little bit later. Um, but if you buy your pass today and your intent is to use it for that following Run Disney, you won't be able to use your pass during that time. So you need to pass right now. And let's talk about why. So the Magic Key calendars are good about 90 days out. So that means from now until April 9 of this year, you should be able to buy or book or reserve any one of those dates pretty much. But the problem with that is that your renewal period doesn't happen until 30 to 60 days out. So we're talking about maybe December 9 or November 9 of 2023 would have been when you would have been requested to renew if you really wanted to. Now, the problem is your Magic Key is going to be a hard set end date at January 9 of 2025. That's non-negotiable. It's an end date during that time, right? Assuming that you buy physically today. But if you get your renewal in, in a best case scenario, November 9 of 2023, that basically means that you're 1 month late because those that were in October, that had valid keys in October that had the coverage for that time would have been able to start booking for those dates in January for that Run Disney. So roughly speaking, you have about a month of blackout time where if you need to travel during that blackout time, you're not going to have a key available just because of how the renewal system works. I don't know why they designed it that way. I have no idea why they designed this 30 to 60 days out, but you're bookable 90 days out. It makes no sense whatsoever. So 1 month following your renewal period or following your end date, if you are traveling anywhere in there, so January 9 of 2025 to February 9 of 2025, that particular window, you won't have a key to use. Now, events like Run Disney, Moonlight Magic, which is Disney Vacation Club after hour events, are always placed during low season time. So if you don't know anything about Disney Vacation Club, their hotels are priced cheapest in January, February, September. That's quote unquote their cheapest season are those time frames. Why? Because there's no foot traffic. People that have already traveled during, Christmas and New Year's, they're all tapped out. They've used all their resources, all their money and stuff like that. They don't want to be traveling during that time. Schools start back up after a 2 week vacation. There's no foot traffic for the most part. I mean, there is, but for the most part, it's low season. That's what it is. So what they do is they'll put events like Run Disney there. They'll put events like Moonlight Magic there. to kind of just, drum up business, have people come. So if you're targeting those events in particular, especially if you're a Run Disney person, you need to pass right now. Don't do it now. A better time to renew is roughly around April to May. And is that even a possibility? Well, let's look at that for a second. Typically speaking, Q4 of the year, they spend um, blocking out everything and just making it for renewals only. Last year in 2023, they had one, I believe, at the beginning of the year, similar to this. They had one somewhere around like April to like May, and then they had another one right before the renewal period. Right before the renewal period, they had a big old sale, and they just coincidentally said it was sold out right before renewal season. And then now it's open again in January. So there will be opportunities to buy. This is not hard set news from Disney. Disney has the right to change and do whatever they want to do. If they want to pull the passes from being from sale, that's their prerogative to do. They can do that. But for the most part, I think there's going to be more sales throughout this year, right? Um, abilities to buy, I wouldn't say sales, ability to buy throughout the year. So you need to plan and buy for what you need to travel for. So think about that for a second before you're jumping to that massive line at Disneyland right now or go into this queue that's been broken on and off. Do you really want to sit through that? I don't know, but that blockout date is something that people don't really think about. And it mattered because for this Run Disney event, it happened to me. I wanted to book for this Run Disney event, but my renewal came up like somewhere in November, and I'm like, but it's already available in October to book, and I'm being so coveted for this event. I was like, well, it's gonna sell out. Like, I want to book on the day of just to make sure that I get my event. They're like, well, sorry, you got to take a crapshoot there. You can renew during your renewal period, and once you do, then your passes will be good to book during that time, but you have to wait until your renewal period. So I was like, is there any other things you could do? Well, you can buy a cash ticket. And if you had bought the cash ticket at the time, you would have paid full price for it. And then later on, they released this new promo, $50 a day for kids. Um, you would have gotten burned pretty badly on that, and that's actually what happened to me because I bought MSRP tickets, and then later on they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna have this massive $50 for kids a day promo." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so can I get a refund and switch it out?" No, no, no. You have to buy a new ticket for that. I'm like, "Well, great, thanks Disney. Thanks for making me waste $400 for no reason." So this does matter. Plan for what you need to use it for. Okay. Follow for more. The Magical Ink.